Okay, so this worksheet is trig stuff, like sine, cosine, and tangent that we've done in geometry before. There's 7 of them, but you have to solve each triangle. So you're going to have to make sure you've got all the sides, all the angles. So you're going to have to find what's missing using trig. Okay, so let me show you what I'm talking about. So on number 1, you've got that triangle. You've got one side and one angle, and then you've got your y and your h that you need, and you need your other angles. Okay, now I know this is a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle, but on this worksheet I want to see sine, cosine, and tangent. I don't want you to use the special 30, 60, 90 degree triangles on this. I want you to use sine, cosine, and tangent. So let me draw the triangle so I can label what's going on. So this is 30, this is 12.5, this is y, this is h, and this is angle B. So we know it's 90 degrees. They're all right triangles. So always mark. I know on the worksheet the right angle is not marked, so you make sure you mark all the right angles. And then of course this angle is 60. So we found the angle measure that we were missing. So now I want to find y. So I want to set up sine, cosine, or tangent to find y. And I want to use what I was given. I was given angle 30, and I was given this side, and I want to find y. So in relation to 30, y is opposite and 12.5 is adjacent. So that is tangent. So tangent of 30 is opposite y over adjacent 12.5. Okay? So then that means 12.5 tan 30 gives you y. And then go ahead, you type that on your calculator. Since this side is rounded to the nearest tenth, we're going to go ahead and round this other side to the nearest tenth. So 12.5 tan 30. So y is about 7.2, because I want you to round it to the nearest tenth, because that's rounded to the nearest tenth. Okay, so y is 7.2. So that's one of them. So again, on your calculator, because some of you are missing these, 12.5 tan 30 should be 7.216. If you don't get this on your calculator, there's some issue. You need to make sure that you go to mode. Well, on your calculators, you should see a DEG button. You need to make sure in the right corner that there's a DEG right here. If there's not, you need to fix it. Okay? So you need to look for that DEG. If you don't see it, find your DEG button. It'll be somewhere on this top row, and just hit it till you see DEG in the right corner, till you see DEG. But some of you are continuing to miss these. You're not asking me why you're missing them, but you're missing them. So, because you've got this set up right, but then your answer is incorrect. So you're either putting it in your calculator incorrectly, you're not putting this first, or your calculator's not in degrees like it's supposed to be. Okay, so now I want to find h. So I found y, now I want to find h. I want to use the angle that I was given and the side I was given. So again, this is adjacent to 30, so I know it's adjacent, and h is the hypotenuse. So that's cosine. So cosine of 30 is adjacent 12.5 over hypotenuse h. When the variable's on the bottom, you simply switch the variable and the trig function. So then in your calculator, that is 12.5 divided by cosine 30, which gives you about 14.4. This one needs to be rounded to the nearest tenth as well, because that side is rounded to the nearest tenth. So once you have all the parts of your triangle, you're done. So that triangle's solved. I got all 3 angles, all 3 sides, using trig functions. Okay, that's what I want you to do, is use trig functions. So 2 is like that. On 3, you need to start by using Pythagorean theorem on 3. And you don't have angle measures, so let me show you on this one how to find angle measures. So on number 3, you've got this triangle. This is x, this is 7, this is 11, this is a, and this is b. And again, put your right angle in. So we need to find angle A and angle B. So this is where you're going to use an inverse sine, inverse tangent, or inverse cosine. To find the x, you're going to use Pythagorean theorem. So you've got to do a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I'm not gonna find x for you, but you do need to round x to a whole number because 7 and 11 are whole numbers. And I want your angles to the nearest whole number. Okay, so that's how you're going to find x. This is how you're going to find x. You're going to round it to the nearest whole number. Then for a and b, you're going to set up an inverse sine, inverse cosine, inverse tangent with what you're given. Okay, so for a, 7 is adjacent, 11 is hypotenuse. Adjacent and hypotenuse is cosine. So you're going to do inverse cosine of adjacent over hypotenuse. And you would type that in your calculator. Second cosine, 7 over 11, gives you about 50. Now, to find b, I want you to do another trig. I don't want you to do 180 minus 90 minus 50. I want you to set up another trig equation. So for angle b, this was angle a. Let me go ahead and put it on here. So for angle b, 7 is opposite angle b, and 11 is still the hypotenuse. So you're going to do an inverse sine, because sine uses opposite and hypotenuse. So you're going to do inverse sine, so second sine of 7 over 11 equals, and again, I want you to round it to the nearest whole number. So there's my cosine where I get 50, and here's the sine of 7 over 11, 39.5. So we're going to put 40. So we're going to put 40 right there. Okay? Then again, you need to finish this one. I'm not going to show you Pythagorean theorem. You should know how to do Pythagorean theorem for x. I showed you how to find the angles so that you can do that. On the other ones, you have to find the angles on. Number 4 is like number 1. Number 5 is like number 3. Number 6 is like number 3. And number 7 is like number 1. Okay, so I've given you samples, examples of what you do on all of those. Okay, and this is due, both of these are due Thursday. They're due 4/23. You need to make sure you print out the worksheet, show all your work on the worksheet, mark up the triangles on your worksheet. I want to see all of that. Okay. And make sure it looks like all the sides, like these sides need to be to the nearest whole number, angles to the nearest whole number. This side needs to be to the nearest whole number. This side needs to be to the nearest whole number. These two sides need to be to the nearest whole numbers. Okay, now let me show you what you're going to do on the other worksheet. The other worksheet is just kind of a review from Algebra 1. It's an easy one. It's just the front side. It's worksheet 81. So I'm also giving you this one. And then it's blank on the back. So I'm just showing you that it's just one side. But it's these easy x squared equations that we did last year in Algebra 1. So I just want to go over it right quick. So you're going to isolate the x squared. So on number 1, you've got 7x squared equals 28. So you're going to divide by 7 and get x squared is 4. And then x is plus or minus 2. The one thing I really like about this worksheet is that it reminds you that it's a plus or minus. So it's a plus or minus 2. So positive 2, negative 2. Then like on number 4, you've got to combine like terms. You've got to combine the 2x squared and the x squared and get 3x squared equals 3. Divide by 3. So x squared is 1. So x would be plus or minus 1. So again, you'd have a positive 1, negative 1, which again, that's one reason why I really like this worksheet is because it shows you you need two answers. You need two answers on everything, okay? So let me show you number 7. Negative 220 equals 5 minus x squared. So subtract 5. So negative 225 equals negative x squared. Change both the signs because you can't have a negative x squared because that's a negative right there. And then x has to be plus or minus 15. So on number 7, you'd put plus or minus 15, okay? Then some of them, like number 8, you're going to have to subtract something like the 5x squared. So let me do number 8 right here. You've got 10x squared equals 5x squared plus 125. So subtract 5x squared. So that would be 5x squared equals 125. Divide by 5. So x squared is 25. So x is plus or minus 5. So on number 8, you'd have a positive 5, negative 5. The order doesn't matter. Here, you need to subtract the x squared and add the 6. Separate steps. Subtract the x squared, rewrite, so you'd have x squared minus 6 equals 30. Then add 6, so you'd have x squared equals 36. So x would be plus or minus 6. Show all your work. I want you to show it on the back, since it's blank, or on a separate sheet of paper. I do not want you trying to show your work on this side because there's not enough room. So you either show your work on the back and send me a picture of the work and the front with the answers on it, or you do it on a separate sheet of paper and send this work with the answers on, send your work and then this with the answers on it, and a heading, a full heading, your name, the date, that it's honors geometry, 5A or 4th period, whichever one you're in, and McKinney. Make sure you put a full heading on it. And if you use a separate sheet of paper, make sure you put a full heading on it, okay? So these are both due the 23rd. They're both due the 23rd.